wasteful and fraudulent recurring programs, which crowds out public safety spending. Property tax relief, on the other hand, leaves millions of dollars in the pockets of taxpayers and leaves government with less money to waste. Because, you've heard me say it before, if we give the government an extra dollar, it'll always spend it. And an extra dollar in the hands of Jacksonville's families is always better than an extra dollar in the hands of Jacksonville's government. Let's deliver property tax relief for Jacksonville families now. Over to the Finance Chair, Mr. Arias.
Mr. Vice President Nick Holland, thank you so much. You know, it takes a lot of courage to make a tax cut, but this isn't the first time that a council or a mayor has ever done this. In fact, Mayor Leonard Curry did it in his last year of office. And two of our greatest mayors from the earlier in this millennium, Mayor John Payton and John Delaney, also proposed and passed several tax cuts. And we're just honoring that tradition here today. And now I'm going to introduce another man that has a lot of courage, my finance chair and my friend, Mr. Raul Arias. Come on, Councilman.
All right, good morning, everybody. So you've heard the numbers, you've heard the facts, the data from Council President Carrico, Council Vice President Howden, and today, as a finance chair, the mission was simple. It was to lower taxes, to reduce the debt, and strengthen our reserves. This is literally the first time in quite some time that we've done all three in 1 year. First time, all while protecting the compassionate services for our most vulnerable citizens here in Jacksonville. And I'm proud to say we did just that. We managed our fiscal responsibilities wisely and still found a way to lower property taxes. Over the last 2 years, our city has collected an additional $160 million of additional property taxes, on top of a $40 million one-time JA contribution and $40 million in solid waste collection fees. That's over $240 million of additional revenue collected in the last 24 months. $240 million in the last 24 months of additional revenue. I want that to stick in your head. Additional revenue, all right? But let's be clear. This isn't government money. This is your money. It belongs to the families who work hard to put food on the table, to pay the light bills, and to keep up with rising costs. Too often we hear talk about new social programs, but rarely do we hear talk about real relief, the relief that our taxpayers need. They're overpaying. So I ask a question we all must ask each other. When is enough enough? Our residents, our families, our neighbors continue to be with high taxes and fees. This is why today I stand proud with my colleagues from the City Council, right behind me, our Finance Committee that went through rigorous work in the last 3 weeks to be able to produce a well-balanced budget. This millage cut, though it is a modest 1/8, it represents something bigger than just 1/8. It represents our commitment to review the millage regularly and to ensure that government doesn't grow more than it needs. Our job is to put money back in the hands of those who need it the most, because government should never grow faster than our citizens' ability to pay it. This is why my mission, my commitment, and my promise to the people of Jacksonville is to do just that every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Now, to a man with a family of 5 who knows something about budgets, I'm going to pass it over to past president, my friend and my brother, Councilman Terrence Freeman.
Thank you, Council President. Good morning to all. This year was my 10th year of going through a budget hearing process from when I started working at the city. And having served on the Finance Committee several times, I must say this was one of the toughest budgets that I have seen. I want to commend Council President Carrico on his leadership. Council President, you were focused, you were compassionate, and you were effective. I want to thank the Finance Committee and the Finance Chair, Councilmember Arias, for taking on the tough decisions, taking on the tough discussions, asking tough questions, so that the citizens in Jacksonville were fully aware of what was taking place. Mr. Finance Chair, you allowed voices to be heard. You allowed issues to be debated, and you did it all while keeping things on track. Well done. My year as Council President, as was mentioned earlier, was the year of Mayor Leonard Curry's last term. And we did reduce the rate. It wasn't easy at that time, but they say that a budget is a reflection of your priorities, and we made it clear that our priorities were giving relief to the citizens. People are hurting, and we need property tax relief now. We did it my year as president, and Council President Carrico, I'm confident that we can do it again this year. And I want to take the time now to thank my good friend and chairman, Mr. Evan Powers. You take your time to travel throughout the state tirelessly in support of such important issues like this. We're better because of your work, and thank you for taking the time to come to Jacksonville. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. When they told me Terrence was going to be one of the speakers, it was a sweetener to this deal because I've known you forever, so thank you for your hard work. You know, waste and fraud in Jacksonville isn't a hologram. It's very, very real. And I'm proud to stand with the people behind me who heard the call of their taxpayers that they wanted relief, and they were willing to take the hard fight of budget cuts and look at the waste and fraud and make difficult decisions. Because for too long across this state, while the state is the most efficient government in the country, local governments have been spending out of control. And every time you're over the target on cutting waste and fraud, they say you're cutting essential services. Essential services are essential. They will be funded. It's all the other things, all the other choices that people have made, whether it be tickets or whether it be whatever perks they want to give themselves, or whether it's programs they set up in perpetuity. And that's why, as taxpayers have struggled with increasing costs, city governments have spent out of control. So I am grateful for these members in Jacksonville who are willing to make the tough calls, the tough decisions, and provide real results to their constituents and the taxpayers of Florida. Because that's the next work. Property tax is the #1 issue facing Floridians. And if Jacksonville can make tough decisions, so can every other city government across this state. So thank you for your hard work, council members. And I appreciate you all being here to hear about this because it's such an important issue. And I'm glad that we're getting real results here in Jacksonville. So thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. A few more things I'd like to echo. Public service, fully funded. Essential services, fully funded. Garbage, fully funded. Infrastructure, fully funded. Police, fire, rescue, children's services. Village, cut. Reserves, more money back into it. Cut. All these things happen in this budget. Now, we've got to pass the full council, get it through, and give our citizens relief. We'll open it up for questions at the moment for anyone out here in the media.
Council President Carrico, this
Yes,
is actually
AG.
for, good morning, this is for Chair Power.
Power.
You know, back in 2023, Republicans had a circular firing squad. They basically knocked each other out of the mayor's race. That's why we have Mayor Deegan to begin with. Now, heading into 2027, more people behind you who have been exploring running for mayor. Is it going to be settled before the primary, the first election in March? What's the state party going to do to make sure you don't get a second term of Deegan?
Well, I think we're going to take a very active role. My chairmanship has always been taking on these tough fights wherever they are. You know, I let the primary process play out however it does. I'm happy to have discussions with people here. But I think what's so important here is exposing the horrific things that the Deegan administration has done and how she's not leading the city in the right direction. And when you make those arguments, it's going to be very easy to say why they need to send Mayor Deegan packing and put somebody else who actually represents the constituents forward. We're going to have those discussions. We'll continue to put out the things that she's doing that are bad, and I've been very active in pointing out some of those things and working with some of these people behind me on how bad she is for the city. So that's what we're going to continue.
So you see crossover Republicans coming back to whoever the candidate is in 2027?
I think when you look at it, if she's lying to the constituents saying that any cut to the budget is affecting essential services, people know that she's lying. People are going to come back and say, these people delivered property tax relief, they made budget cuts, they made the tough decisions, and so a conservative government is much better than someone who's spending at will, making poor decisions, and making herself the story. Because the story should be about the taxpayers, not a mayor.
And when it comes to the programs, determining what is essential and what is, wasteful, just walk us through the criteria you guys are looking at.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, when it comes to determining the programs that are wasteful or actually essential, just talk about the criteria you guys are looking at when it comes to the budget with that.
Yeah, our essential services are public safety, first and foremost. That's our responsibility as government. So police, fire, infrastructure needs, things that keep us safe. You can't have potholes the size of Volkswagens. We got to fix that because that endangers us. It keeps us safe. Anything that's safety, that's essential. Everything else, we have to look at openly and see if that's something that has to be determined whether we can make sure that's something we fund or not. Yes, sir.
Councilmember Carrico, my name is Will Brown, WJCT in Jacksonville today. This is for you or Councilmember Arias. Specifically, every council member has $1 million as part of the community benefits agreement. Are there council member budgets, council member funds of about $1 million? It's doing some fuzzy math in my head. Is that something that you all considered cutting, like your council member discretionary spending to cover the gaps that were in the budget?
Yeah, you're referring to the CBA dollars, the Community Benefits Agreement, which was part of the contract of the new stadium deal. That's $14 million, $1 million for every council district. That can be spread out over the whole term of that deal. So that's something we could use for infrastructure in our districts or community programs. We can give that back to the budget in future years, or we could choose to spend it. It's held there, and if you want to give any context on that, you can. Yeah, Councilman Arias.
Thank you. Great question, and the way I see it is, those district dollars, there's 14 districts, and which comprise all of Jacksonville, essentially. So there's my district on the south side, on Bay Meadows, there's Rockman's district, there's Mr. Carrico's district. So I think that those dollars are essential to the improvement of our community, because ultimately every district council member knows what's best for their district, and those dollars could only stay in those districts. So when you're talking about improvements for the betterment of Jacksonville, who knows better than these guys standing right behind me? So essentially, those dollars would never be cut. That was not part of the plan. The original agreement was to have those dollars in the actual budget. Because they were not in the budget and they were in the CIP, meaning only for capital improvements, we had to take it out of the CIP to put it in the original budget as originally termed. That was the original agreement. And now we can actually do the work to go into our communities and improve our communities. So that's why those dollars are still there, and they're going to stay there.
Biggest criticism of the proposed property tax cut from the mayor's office is that it's only about $1 a month in savings for the average homeowner. Why not do more?
Good question. Any dollar back in the hands of taxpayers is better than wasteful spending of the government, and we could look at doing more. The budget's not over yet, but it's a good start, and I think in future years we'll continue to look at more wasteful spending and more future cuts if we can make them. But right now, this is the spot we landed in to make sure everything essential is funded, and these are future discussions we can have. Yes, Mr. Bowerline.
President Carrico, following up on what Jake was asking, obviously the Save Our Homes Amendment, both property tax value is going to go up 2.9% this year, cut the rate by 1% basically. People are still going to be paying more in taxes when they get their city tax bill to the city. Is that property tax relief, or is it just sort of limiting how much their taxes are going up?
Anything we cut is relief. Anything going back in the hands of the property tax owner is relief, and we're challenged to do more. We're going to continue to try to do more. Next question. For media members only.
Adding the 3 amendments at the end of the budget hearing process gave you pause. You asked about the budget getting vetoed, not going through. What is your feeling on that as far as the budget going forward?
Yeah, those amendments were put in by Councilmember Diamond. I support those amendments as a conservative. I don't want to see our tax dollars used on any of the items that get the amendments covered. If the mayor wants to veto that is up to her. And if you have any further questions on the amendments, we have the author of the amendments here if you want to ask him any details on that. Mr. Diamond?
What's the question?
You have a question?
Does it give you pause? Does it give you worry about this budget going through and actually getting approved?
The greatest thing about these amendments is we're saying, no, Donna, there'll be no money for DEI. No, Donna, there will be no money for abortions. No, Donna, there will be no money for illegal immigration. And you know what's going to happen? The mayor's going to have to decide whether she's with the vast majority of the city of Jacksonville or if she's in the pockets of the left-wing donors that control her. We'll all find out together.
All right, we'll take one more question.
So specific.
Yeah, go.
So today was mentioned cutting spending and things like that. Are there plans for the city to work with non-governmental organizations to fill some of those gaps that have been suggested through the finance committee? And if so, what are the ways that can be done during the upcoming?
Absolutely. That's the beauty of Jacksonville, Florida. We have one of the most robust nonprofit communities, I think, in the country. And these are conversations that I'm willing to have with the mayor's office. What can we do to get with groups like Aging True that are doing the Meals on Wheels? How can we leverage the outcry of the community that says we need more dollars for Meals on Wheels and work with the donors and the people who are upset that says we need more for these programs and get these hands in the dollars of the nonprofits. And I'm willing to go to the table as a nonprofit leader to work with these organizations to try to help them with philanthropic efforts and leverage these resources to try to help non-government organizations. So willing to do that.
Is that through like matching city funds with their private funds, or is there like other?
It's just being an advocate and helping those organizations find resources out in the private sector.
So for them to be the hands and feet in the government to get out the way is essentially, I want to be clear.
That would be ideal, yes sir. All right, thank you everybody for coming. All right, have a good one.